On the 25th of January 2020, we are bringing the Addicted to Success event to Cape Town, South Africa. And on the 1st of February, we're bringing the event to Johannesburg. This is your opportunity to dive deep with Emil Steenveld and I to transform your money mindset. This is a one-day exclusive event. We also have Sachin Govender joining us in Johannesburg. He is a powerful multi-millionaire entrepreneur who's born and raised in South Africa. We also have Heidi Shannon from Australia, who is a mental health coach who knows how to pull apart your weaknesses and put you back together with strength to really show you powerful strategies to up-level your mind and your way of thinking. And we have Adam Roa from the US who's flying out to teach you how he has been able to expand his creation and how he impacts millions through his content. He has reached multi-millions of views with his Goalcast video, so don't miss this opportunity. Also, 50% of profits will be going towards rape crisis in South Africa. This is where you get to support those that are being physically abused and sexually abused. This is going to a good cause, and it also means that you're now able to step into your abundance after moving through your blockages. The way that we teach this is going to be unforgettable, and I cannot wait for you to join us in South Africa. So make sure you go to IamAddicted2Success.com. That's IamAddicted2Success.com and get your early bird tickets now before they go up. Tickets are selling out, so jump in, and this is your opportunity to make 2020 your best year yet.
I like the fact that we're here in a beautiful place, and I like the fact that I met you 3 years ago and this is so funny, we're literally surrounded by monkeys. Like I'm not even joking. There's no movie shit. Like this is you and I meeting for the first time in Bali, in Ubud, in Indonesia, surrounded by monkeys, and you were interviewing me. And then you came to my house, this was a good year ago. It's Villa Chabai out here in Bali near the rice fields that quite a bit further back from this place that we're currently in. And we had such a powerful interview, and I really believe it was powerful because you have really committed to the game. You've really dived in, you've implemented, and I could feel your energy, man. You were just there to be like, hey, how can I stimulate as much value from Joel? So I'm excited to return the favor, dude, and I'm excited to jam with you today. I know that you've achieved a lot of incredible things in a very short amount of time. If you're listening right now, Gavin has brought his business, online business, from 0 to 3 million in the space of 12 months. Like that's just like, that in itself is freaking amazing. But I know that you go even deeper than that and really just check in and go, you know what? Yeah, I'm making a bunch of money, but do I want to be doing this every day for the rest of my life? Do I want to wake up playing the same pattern in the same movie? And I love that you've broken that up and gone, you know what? It's not about the money. I'm really here to serve at the highest level. And I'm so excited to dive into this, man, to see how you started 3 years ago. And I know you dived into books and you're all about learning and that, and then you've just like evolved into this incredible version of yourself that I know is gonna be forever evolving. So dude, thank you so much, man. Yeah. Let's do this, man.
I have so much respect for you and everything you've done with this podcast and your story, because it was like 6 years ago when I ran into the Addicted to Success podcast. And I was not making very much money. I was actually working construction jobs. I was working, cutting grass, painting houses, like you can name it, right?
Hustle, man.
I was in the hustle in not the most conscious way. And I never knew really, until I was 25 years old, I didn't read a business book. Right? And
do you remember what that first podcast was that you listened to?
Grant Cardone.
Grant Cardone. Yeah. Uncle G.
It was actually hilarious. It was the best Grant Cardone interview I ever saw because he loves you. For whatever reason, he absolutely loves you. So I was listening to this, but for me, listening to those podcasts back then when I was first stimulated and had my like fire ignited in me to like really go after something and stop just playing small, I would listen to these podcasts as a way to just hear these stories of people and what they had gone through so I could be like, okay, I'm not crazy. Everyone around me thinks I'm crazy for having these big dreams. Everyone thinks that like this isn't the path. You're not going to be able to make it. You got to go to school, get a job. We've heard this so many times before.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, no, like I can see what they're saying is truth. there's truth within this. Like, and we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. We hear this all the time, but how much of the time do we think about like our digital influence, right? We are also the 5 people we listen to the most, you know? So it's not just into the physical. So I would stop hanging out with my friends as much, and I would start putting more audiobooks and podcasts in my ear. And one of those was the Addicted to Success podcast. And I listened to these interviews over and over. I was just like reigniting that fire, because it's not easy. The game is not easy. Like, people think it is. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'm going to get on the internet and get rich quick. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah,
the coaches or all this culture of people wanting to just get rich quick. That's not how this works. Especially if you want to build something that feels good on the inside, not just like you get a couple likes on the outside, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to thank you for that before we get started with everything else.
Well, this is a great segue, because I know it's such a necessary conversation. There are so many people right now that are trying to be influencers. And if we were to break it down, and obviously there's a generalization to this, but at the same time there's a big concern, because an influencer, what is that? An influencer is, hey, this works really well online, in the sense of, if I present myself like this, or I say this, or I show this, or it is a carbon copy print of the thing that works as popular, then that means I'm going to get a lot of likes and interest. And I don't know if you feel the same. Like, as a creative as well in this space, I like really respect people that are willing to be courageous in their creativity. They go, you know what? It's not just about like finding what's popular, but it's about speaking truth. And usually when you speak truth, it can be challenged. And I think a lot of people have this running fear of rejection that keeps showing up for them, where they're like, well, I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to post the quotes that I know get a lot of likes. I'm going to shoot the video content that seems to work for Jay Shetty or Lewis Howes or whoever it may be. I'm just going to do that. And I think women do that too. You know, they're like, oh, well, I will do the booty shot because I know the booty shot gets a lot of interest. Or, you know, there's this other person that's a high level influencer that's doing, you know, shots in Morocco or wherever it is. Let's go do that. And at some point that's going to get old, you know, and we talk a lot about principles and trends, and so many people are following trends. And what's scary about trends is the fact that you fall into a cesspool or saturation of millions and millions of other people that are doing the exact same thing. And so what I like about the way that you showed up is you did the thing that you feel was like popular and it was working really well with e-commerce. You made millions of dollars, but then you went, wait a minute, no. I want deeper impact. I want to run by principles. So let's break it down, man. What were the principles that you applied in your life and you have taught to your team, you love to share with others, that you feel has allowed you to move from the 0 to 3 million, but on top of that, to expand into your Limitless course that you've created here that just serves people on such a deep level. So break down the principles so we can have something actionable here today.
Man, this is so powerful. So I'm going to go into some quotes and some things that I just like, I truly live by.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't consider myself like deeply religious in one religion. This is like, this is my truth, right? But I believe deeply in the principles of religion. So this sounds a little bit weird to a lot of people. Like, oh, don't you have to be in one religion, or aren't you a scientist, or whatever it is? And I'm like, no, I'm going to try to study a lot of these different things, and I'm going to try to find where there's truths within it all. Like, this is how I look at things. And I look at something like, you know, let's look at just Richard Dawkins. I'm not a Richard Dawkins fan, like he's the best guy in the world. But he has some very intelligent things to say, just like a lot of Christians and Muslims, or a lot of people have intelligent things to say. One of the things he said is, he said, survival machines that learn through simulation are always ahead of survival machines that only learn through overt trial and error. Right. What he was saying is, most people get born into this world and they learn everything through their own trial and error. And by the end of their life, they're like, why didn't things work out the way I wanted them to? Well, if you studied Tony Robbins, you would think, well, I'm going to stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm going to go learn from the best, and then I'm going to start at the top and then start to work my way up.
And he's pretty tall. He's like 6
But I was like, this kind of principle, it's like, okay, we're born as human beings with these instincts, and then basically cavemen born into a modern world with everything else that's different.
Yeah.
So if I stay a caveman, that means everyone who's ahead of the chess game and who has studied the human animal and our ancient animal drives and our psychology can just click all my primal hot buttons and make me watch pornography, make me eat sugary foods, make me use my credit card in ways I shouldn't. And then I'm going to be stuck, this kind of slave to the system. So that principle to me is like, how do you find truth at the highest level? Because all these people are studying all these different fields. Like look at Dr. David Buss with evolutionary psychology. Like, wow, he's like gone in and studied why we do what we do, and we have access to that information. So when I'm trying to study sales funnels and getting my team in any area, I'm like, who's the best person in this area?
Yes.
We're going to go study the best person.
Model.
And I'm going to take you and I'm going to send you to their event, or I'm going to get you their course, or what is it that we can do to model this best person? I am not going to sit there and say, hey, we're going to figure all this shit out on our own.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me, right? And then another thing is like, no, it's not the strongest or the most or the fastest that survives. It's the one most adaptable to change. And, you know, we've all learned this before.
I feel that.
Because as evolution was being studied, this is one of the quotes that came out. And if you just think about that, it's like we're in a time that's evolving so fast, like exponentially. But if most people stay in their old caveman brain, they're just being basically triggered from the outside and being controlled. Or you could play the chess game and always be 5 steps ahead. So I'm trying to be 5 steps ahead, and I'm trying to learn all the principles. So what I'm saying is, as an action step, it's like, who do you want to be? What's your vision, like you talk about?
Yeah.
And then how can you find someone who's been where you were, and then you can start modeling their success.
We were talking before about Ray Dalio, where, you know, he's one of the richest dudes on the planet, billions and billions and billions and billions. But at the same time, you know, he can share these principles and say you've got to be, you know, skeptical about things and challenge it, but at the same time, realism has to be at play. And that doesn't mean that you can't have big dreams, which you were saying before. I know that recently I had this moment where, you know, I'm 10 years into my career of running Addicted to Success and everything, and I had a call that I jumped on the other day. This guy that has raised millions of dollars per film, and they've done 4 of them in a row, beat the deadlines, had incredible people. They're shooting a movie with DeMartini. They want to shoot a movie on me, on Living in Your Vision. And after I got off the call, I said to Emil Steenveld, my business partner and friend, I said, dude, I wrote down once in my vision 10 years ago that I'll be working with, you know, these incredible leaders in documentary films, or documentary film, just film. And I've been in 4 documentary films so far. All of them have come to me. I never gone to it. And this 5th one has come, and now it's like a movie they want to base on me. And I said, I don't want self-promotion. Let's like bring other people in it too, so we can make this really epic. And he's like, dude, of course. And I remember Michael Bernard Beckwith said when I interviewed him, he said, when you're in alignment and you're doing what you love, and you're envisioning it, and you're committed to the vision, and you're not off course, when it comes into play, always say, of course. It's like you're expecting it to happen. But if you're out of alignment, you're off course. It's not coming into your space. And so sometimes I feel like there's this worthiness thing that happens. What do you feel you have really tapped into when it comes to your self-belief? Because this is one of the dimensions of success that I often use within my framework with my students and clients, is you have values, beliefs, habits, and skills. I believe they're the 4 dimensions of excellence across the board. And we tap in all the time and go, which area are you lacking in? Now, when it comes to your beliefs, what do you believe about yourself that you believe has brought you to this place of this success that you have now? If you could list at least 3 or 4 beliefs that you believe, like, to the core about you, because I want the listeners and the viewers to go, cool, this is what I need to start working towards in order to reach a level of success that Gavin does.
Oh man, it's such a good question. It can go to so many layers, and I feel like I could go for hours on this. But let's just go into the movie The Matrix for a second here.
Yep.
And when Morpheus is sitting there with Neo, and he's like, you know, you felt it your entire life, like there's something wrong with the world. It's like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. Yeah. And I remember that growing up. I remember that in elementary school, and I would be just daydreaming the whole time. Why am I here? And them telling me like I was stupid, but I had no idea anything else. I just knew I visioned a lot. And I knew I wanted to like create stuff, but I had no idea anything more than that. That was just where it ended, because I was trying to be boxed in. And then I remember at one point I was like in French class, and everyone was like trying to say like 1 to 100, and everyone skipped 60 and went right to 70, like 60. Well, they went right to it, and I kept saying 60, but because everyone was like looking at the cool kid, they kept doing it because they were too scared to like not follow everyone else. And I remember like these times of like,
sheep, man.
yeah, what is going on? But I never knew anything more than that. I would just question these things, and you get enough, like hundreds of those things throughout your life, thousands, and you just question more of reality. But there was something always inside me, and I don't know what it was, always saying, you're gonna figure something out. You're gonna meet somebody. Something is gonna happen. You're gonna discover something. And in the movie The Matrix, a lot of people don't know this, but Neo represented the neocortex. Morpheus represented the knowledge, the god of dreams. Trinity represented the heart, the sacred feminine. So if the whole movie is codable. Every part about it is decodable because it comes from a book called Simulacra and Simulation, which is all about like,
it's like a Gnostic way of viewing the world.
But it's incredible if you really decode every little piece of the movie has meaning to it, deep psychological meaning. But when I was studying this, when I was looking through this, and I was asking myself like, where did it happen for me? Where were these moments of awakening? Like, how did I discover my Morpheus or my truth or my knowledge? And one of those moments was I was out at the lake with my friends. We were getting hammered. I was about 23 years old. And we took a hike, walking down the train tracks. We look at this little cliff, and we're like, hey, let's climb up this thing. It was about 40 feet. Climb up this thing. It's easy, whatever, no big deal. We're sitting on the edge, and my friends were like, let's go around, let's go down. I'm like, I'm just gonna climb back down because my ego. I thought I was just gonna be able to do it. I'm drunk. Really smart thing to do when you're drunk, by the way. Climb cliffs,
We don't advise to do this at home.
Yeah. Do not advise. So I start climbing. Whoosh, flip. I'm upside down.
Yeah.
I'm dead. In my mind, it's done. Good job, Gavin. You fucking idiot. Caught by 2 tree branches. No idea like what's going on. My shoulder's dislocated. I'm looking up. My friends looking at me in horror. Like, I look around this cliff, and there's no other tree branches. This is the only place. 2 things coming out of this tree. They caught my shoulders. So I climb myself down, and my brain is going like,
damn.
And I'm like, did I pursue my passions? Did I like do something of purpose in life? Like, what am I doing? Doing drugs, just drinking, like wasting my life away. And it's one of these realizations where if who you can be is so different from who you are or from the actions you're actually taking, you look for escapism in between. Yeah. So that was happening to me in my life. But at that moment, there's something inside of me that said, first off, this is bonus time now. You better fucking do something with your life. Second off, I'm like, I'm meant for something more. And whether this is true or not, I'm not telling anyone like you're special or you should just go to astrology and numerology to have you told you're special. But if you believe you're special, if you believe that you're here for something more, then you're gonna act like it.
Of course. Yeah,
So
your worthiness goes up because you're like, I'm actually worth something.
Exactly.
And in that moment, God had his hand on you.
Yes.
He's like,
absolutely.
here's your second chance, Gavin.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do with it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where like Tony Robbins comes in with like his certainty, cycle of certainty.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Maslow's hierarchy too, but he has a cycle of certainty, which is you have your potential. It's we'll put it on, but it's like you have your potential.
Yep.
And your potential determines like what you believe about your potential, at least determines the actions you take. Yep. Those actions you take determine the results you get. Those results determine the belief, and then that cycle continues. So if when I had that moment, let's say, I started to believe that I have more potential, well, do you think I'm going to start taking more actions?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Do you think I'm going to start to see some more results?
Yeah.
Do you think my belief will increase, right?
Yeah.
And then, do you think my potential will feel like it's even bigger? So of course. But if I feel like I have a small potential and I take a small amount of action and then I get little results and then I say, oh, I can't do it, I don't have a lot of belief. So it's like I started realizing little things can really help. And one of those things was I met this guy who became a mentor of mine, Paul Taylor. I was walking down the back lane after this in Canada. I meet this guy, he's flipping tires, he's hitting things with sledgehammers, and I'd met him a year before, and we had connected, but I hadn't talked to him since because I was a loser, man. I feel like when I look at myself back then, like I was a drifting loser, like Napoleon Hill says.
Limited version of yourself.
Limited version, but I'm using this as the word that I would have used then.
Yeah.
That's not how I have to look at it now,
Yeah.
because I was unconscious, but that's how I felt, right? And I saw this guy and he's like, hey, you want to work out with me? I'm in jeans, all this stuff. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. You know? So now I'm hitting sledgehammer in jeans, flipping tires, 30 minutes later, drenched in sweat. And this became my first mentor.
Yeah.
And the first person that made me realize if I take a certain action, I can get a certain result.
Yeah.
And the first person to start changing my beliefs of you can do this, you can do that. He had been in jail for 4 years. He told me about all of his mistakes. He made me realize that my mistakes are not my future.
Yeah.
He made me understand so much more about who I could be. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that mentor. And that's what your podcast was. That's what a lot of these things were. As soon as I met him, I started looking for more.
Yeah.
You know, and then I started seeing more versions of this story. It's so powerful, man.
Yeah, man, I kind of feel like it's like the rite of passage to go through that experience, to go, okay, I've got a contrast now. I know what it's like to not have this. Then I have this, like, it's like a little peep through a window of what's possible. And then when you see people, as you climbing the ladder, you see them implementing and taking action and moving forward and supporting more people and things getting bigger and lifestyle changing and evolving from the inside out. There's this allure to it where it's like, wow, I want that. Now, let's talk about this. You've achieved success, right? To a certain degree. And everyone's definition of success is different. It's subjective, blah, blah, blah. We already know this. But for you, what would you say is the thing where you're like, oh, this is success. And then when you went to get it, you're like, wait a minute, that's not it. And you've had to kind of, let's say, change course or move in a different direction, and you've kind of recalibrated into a better space. What was that thing that caught you by surprise? You're like, wow, this thing I've been chasing for so long, isn't it? And now this is what it is.
I think in business, we learn a lot of things about creating value, and we learn a lot of things about, you know, making money. And making money, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But when we're in the situation of more scarcity, we're trying to just find any way to make money. Desperation, not inspiration. It's out of a place of desperation. So I was just looking and looking and looking and looking. How can I find ways to make money? I tried so many different business ideas. It's ridiculous, and failed so many different times. And then I found the right business partner at the right time and the right thing. And I saw e-commerce, and I was like watching these YouTube videos. Like, these guys like suck at this stuff, and they're teaching it on courses. Like, what's going on here? But I'd learned so much about marketing over the years. I was like, I can now apply all this knowledge that I learned to this business model.
Yeah.
And I went down that path, and it was great. I was like, wow, this is great. I can actually like give a lot of value to people by selling a good product and make money. But at the end of the day, I started to feel really empty because I still realize I only have a certain amount of time on this planet.
Yeah.
And that time has to be spent giving my best gifts to the world. So I had to ask myself, what are my true values? When you talk about values, what truly do I value? What truly do I want to see the world look like in 20 years? Like, because I was here, why did the world change? I started asking those questions. And it wasn't just selling random physical products to people that were solving a random solution. It was, what is my gift? What do I, when I talk to someone, what do I give them? You know, and how can I multiply that by millions of people?
This is mature success. Welcome to mature success, bro.
Yes.
Like, honestly, this is something that I could say only recently tapped into in the last few years, because I was chasing this elusive rabbit. You know, I was like, well, this is what success means because I see this and this and that. And then the more that I got mentorship over the years, I realized when I started asking the right questions, I realized, wow, the things that I thought were priority, these guys literally have already done it, and it's the piece to the puzzle. It's not priority anymore.
Yeah.
So when I get mentorship, I ask now, what is your top 3 priorities in your business and your life, and I get them to list it, because if they can list it to me now and I start seeing patterns, seeing like this person says this and this and this and this, it's got to be like, if they've done it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that's got to be important.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like, still living my unique journey and everything as you have too. I remember when we were in Monkey Forest in Ubud, and you were like standing in front of the camera and you were asking questions. What happened, man? Share that experience.
This is awesome, man. This was a really
3 years ago, right?
3 years ago. I really believe in like really good feedback from mentors, like, and I really believe in learning from that feedback, not just, you know, I'm going to think about it my way and I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to learn through trial and error, like we talked about at the beginning. And I was asking you questions and I was hustling, man. I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to make things work in my life. But I'm like rough around the edges. So I asked, you said at the beginning of the interview, make sure to ask like specific questions.
Yeah.
Like to give me a level of awareness to like not just ask the same things you're always asked. So as we're in the interview, I'm talking, and then I asked some sort of question, and then you gave some sort of like response, kind of making fun of it and laughing at me.
Challenging you.
Yeah, challenging me in a good way. In a good way, it was hilarious. But it was a very good moment for me to gain more awareness.
Yeah.
And I think like what does Socrates say? He's like, the unexamined life isn't worth living, right?
Ooh.
And I love constantly looking at how I can optimize. I reflect back on what I could have done better and I optimize. I like this whole like you're enough movement, but that's not enough. And what I mean by that is if I'm just like enough, but I'm just lying on my couch eating Doritos and I'm saying I'm enough and that's just cool, there's something wrong with that. And here's why. It's going to cause unfulfillment in your life if you're feeling that way, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm like, yeah, I am enough. I'm a human being. I was born here. This is all beautiful, but I can be more. You know, I can be more. I can be more for my family. I can be more for the world. I can learn more. I can help more. So yeah, I am enough, but I can be more. So you feel good now, but you also realize I can be better. So when I get this constructive feedback, sometimes it like hurts for a second, but I realize you either win or you learn. You know, so I'm like, how did I learn from that? I took that and I've lived with that moment as how can I be more aware?
Yep.
You know, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You know, I remember hanging out with Gary Vaynerchuk. This is about 6 years back. We're in VaynerMedia offices and we're talking about growth and, you know, building your business and scaling. And he said to me, if I'm not embarrassed of the person that I was 3 months ago, I'm not growing fast enough.
Yeah.
And that sat with me so well because it's like, that's that whole thing of like, yeah, you are enough as in you're worthy of it, you're confident, you trust yourself, you know that, you know, it's not going to all happen overnight at the same time. Grant's the extreme where Grant's like, be ridiculously like frustrated and appalled at yourself, you know? So like you get these like different ends of the scale. I would say obviously have gratitude for where you're at, right? But at the same time going like, you know what? My potential is just so much more than I've ever experienced. And I think that's the most exciting thing of life. Like, I remember this guy that, man, I studied his stuff so much. He ended up dying. He died in a plane crash. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. His name is Miles Monroe. And he says, you know, like imagine that like God's created you, manufactured you as like a car, right? And let's say that like you look at the tacho on a car, the speedometer, and it says that basically your potential is 300 on a speedometer, and you're driving along and you see someone next to you and they're going 60 kilometers an hour and you're going 60, and then next thing they pick up to 70 and you go, oh my gosh, look at this person, they're so incredible, and we praise them to the ends of the earth and think they're so amazing. Little do we know we have 320 or 300 sitting on the dash that we could also reach too. And it's because we're not really truly focusing on what's my lane, what's my vision, you know, where am I? So that being said, what's yours, man? Like, where do you see this going? And like, what kind of skill sets are you starting to apply? And what habits are you sticking to get you there to that bigger end, higher version of yourself?
Man, I love it. All these questions, so good because you bring it from so many different angles. You bring it all together.
Tie it in. I want powerful answers, man.
So, man, for me at first, of course, it was like, how do I break free? You know? Oh yeah, he's getting them good. So it's like
we got the dogs in the background just going
at
at each other.
So
you can split them up if you need to.
So
It's like you and Nico when you were boxing.
oh man. So here's what it was. Number one, I was like, I just don't want to keep working these jobs because I would work these jobs, but I would work always harder, I felt, than everybody else. But I would never get paid more for that. So I'd always go the extra mile during the jobs that I would work because as I was there, I'm like, why don't I work hard? Of course, I'm not just going to sit here on my iPhone doing nothing. I'm going to get shit done. Right. But I realized I would never get any rewards for that. So I'm like, how do I get more rewards for my effort? So entrepreneurship, of course. So you go down this rabbit hole and you start to read these books and your mind gets exploded because you realize how much more is possible and how much more you can do. So you start to like head in that direction.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
So as I'm seeking for this freedom and starting to study sales, marketing, psychology, like I became so obsessed with just like universal natural laws, just like the truth of how things work. Because I realized like if I learn this stuff, it's going to work. I'm gonna figure it out. And there was actually one moment where I was in network marketing for like 6 months when I first started out. And I was watching this YouTube video from Cesar Rodriguez. And I go to the mall the next day with these tactics that he teaches. He's like, go to the mall, do this, do this, this. I'm walking in and out of the mall with a suit on, with an iPad, and I'm walking out, I'm like, who's the best salesperson here? And everyone's like, me, because they're competitive people. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you, here, now. Like I'm acting, literally like at that point, I'm being the person that he's saying, do this. So I go, and then I bring this guy aside. He's like a manager or a salesperson. I talk to him, and then I'm like, you're the type of person that's very good with keeping appointments, right? And they're like, yeah. 9 out of 10 times people would show up. Why? Wow. It's an identity commitment. And I realized, oh my God, if I learned 100 of these like psychological tactics, I can't not be successful. Yeah. So then I apply all these things in copywriting and all these things now, of course. Right. But I am so much more addicted to helping other people use this stuff on themselves and become manipulation proof than I am in using it in marketing. Yeah. I want someone else to be a better chess player. Like that is like, when I see someone's eyes light up when they awake to that next level, it's like, oh, I get so fueled by it, man.
Transformation, bro.
Transformation, but it took going into all the marketing and all the other stuff because all that stuff is being used on us. Why don't we use it on ourselves? Wow. You know? Like we can. It's there. So that's why I created Limitless. Like I was like, I'm going to create something where someone can use this stuff on themselves and through repetition, upgrade their own software. Yeah. You know, just upgrade their computer. We're supercomputers. We upgrade our iPhones all the time, but how often do we upgrade our brain?
So how can we be a part of Limitless?
Man, well, I have limitlessmasterclass.com.
Is it like taking a shot of whiskey?
Here's the thing. I'm gonna give 3 things. If I were to do 3 things to like create success in my life, I would, number 1, I would learn how to upgrade my mind. So we have these supercomputers we were never given our owner's manual for. So you go throughout all of school, never being taught how your brain works. How fucking crazy is that? Like never once. We're just taught subjects. And we're taught to memorize, but not how to memorize. So think about that. I did a video online the other day where I memorized a 100-digit code forward and backwards. And I taught people how to do it in an hour. And people are like, how do you do that? Well, it's easy. Your memory works very simply. But I didn't know how to do that before, but I learned it from one course from a guy, Ron Waite, and then I could do it in an hour. Yeah. Anyone can do it. We look at movies like Limitless, and we're like, that movie, this is why I created this course, because that movie, Limitless, but think about this. What if that was the norm, and we're actually all just slow? Think about that, right?
I already believe that anyway.
Of course. I know, but I'm the average person, it's like, that's the norm. Yeah. So I'm like, I want to create that as the norm. So number 1 is we have to upgrade our brain. Number 2, we have to take this knowledge and we have to learn how to influence our world. One of those things is upgrading ourselves because we become more influential the more we stand in our truth and the more we upgrade ourselves. Yeah. But we also have to learn how to press the triggers in other people's brains because if you have something that's really good for other people, it's your duty, obligation, responsibility to learn how to influence them to do those actions. And if you don't, then what are you going to do? How are you going to help them? So when my mom was younger, she was living in Africa. She grew up in Africa. And people came to the village to say, hey, there's like, you know, this other tribe or these other people coming to the village and they're going to like cause a lot of ruckus here. You know, people are going to die. And my parents left and my grandparents left, but a lot of other people didn't, and they all got murdered. And if that person was better at selling and influencing, less people would have died. And this isn't everything in life. So we have to realize a lot of times we think influence and persuasion is bad. What if you influenced and persuaded people to do something that's so good for them, that's going to help them avoid really bad situations? Right? It's very, if you have good intentions, it's your responsibility. And I feel like the people who have the best intentions always spend the least of the time learning how to persuade. And the ones who have less always want to control people.
It's true.
And it's sad. So that's another part. And then number 3 is we have to learn that all successful people take action right now.
Yeah.
Speed of implementation, they make quick decisions, and then they learn from that. But they don't sit around like on the sidelines. They get into the game.
Yeah.
There's the people in the stands, there's the people on the sidelines, and then there's the people who play. There's the people who watch the movies and the people who are on the movies.
Right.
We have to get in the game.
Yeah,
So-
I often say success loves speed and money loves momentum.
Yeah.
You gotta like move with haste.
Yeah.
I was listening to a guy by the name of Russ. He's a rapper,
Yeah.
R&B singer, you know Russ, right? He's
I love that one song, Manifest.
Oh, Manifest. I haven't heard that one.
So
I haven't
good,
heard that
yeah.
one. I heard that one like, "What could I do it myself?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. There's some bouncy tunes, and he's very much inspired in life. And he said in one of his chapters in his recent book, It's All in Your Head, he said that when his mum used to call him when he was younger, would like Russ, come here. Sometimes he'd be like, "Oh, I'm busy." She'd say, "Come to me and move with purpose." Right? She'd say like, "Get here with purpose." Would often hammer that into his mind, and he said it never left him, where he always thought to himself, like, if I have an idea or I have something that I should be doing and know that I need to be doing, is I've got to like do it with purpose. I walk with intention. I make it happen. Like it's like now is the time to do it. And he said that he recorded this track, and he was speaking to his friend, and he said, "Hey, we should like get someone to do a video for this. Like we should shoot a music video clip." So I contacted a guy, and the guy said, yeah, we'll get that done in a month and a half. And he had a tour coming up. He's like, "Man, we need to build some buzz around this tour." So him and his friend decided to go get a video camera. They shot it and edited it within 2 days. That video has like hundreds and hundreds of millions of views, and it's brought to him so many opportunities.
It's insane.
And he
I
said,
went to one of his concerts before.
right, and he said the reason why the other guy said a month and a half and they were able to do it in 2 days because that guy wasn't as passionate as him about it. So it's like, how do I get passionate people in my space? How do I tap into my passion and move with haste? Now you have, and I wanted to tap into this and talk about this because I think this is really important. I think a lot of people are going to hear this and also see this and be like, "Wow, you've inspired me, Gav, to do this too." You've put a lease, you've purchased a lease on a place for a year, 2 years, whatever it may be, out here in Bali. Yeah. Epic pad, man. You've got like 5-6 bedrooms. You've got, like a pool in the center that's like so epic, man. It looks like you're in a resort, and you've got a waterfall running underneath you, and you've got like this whole like yoga chalet. You got the whole setup, man. Now, this is obviously a great investment for you. Can you break down what's your train of thought around that just before, and why is it a good idea for digital nomads or entrepreneurs to really do something like this?
Yeah, because think about this. Like, it's so funny because my mind never used to work this way. A lot of times we think about spending less money because that's going to be the thing that's going to like not make us lose so much money.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, if I get this place for a year, I rent it out. Then when I'm traveling, I rent it out, right? So now I have the money coming back. And by the end of this year, I'm going to have lived there like 7 months of the year or something, and basically almost have lived there for free.
Yeah.
While have had some of the most epic people there all the time, building my team, building people around me. So it's just like, oh, this just makes sense. And if you listen to like Grant and other people are like, you gotta like buy a house as soon as you have enough money, and you gotta like hold on to that house and keep your job. This is all stuff what we've been taught for so long. These are all terrible investments if you actually want to build wealth.
Yeah.
I'm not saying overall they're terrible investments, but if you don't have money, you got to invest in yourself, number one.
Yeah.
So you can build yourself, so you can build businesses that can allow you to do these things.
Yeah.
Like Grant, every time he's like, you have 50 grand, it's like, who cares? You have 100 grand, who cares? 200 grand, who cares? Like, that's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But I wanted to build something where I could attract more incredible people. So people will maybe look at my stories, some people won't understand, and be like, oh, he's doing this to show off. okay, there's maybe a piece of that. I'm a human being. I want nice things just like the rest of us. However, if I really look at my core of what I wanted to attract great people. I wanted to attract great partners, great business partners, great investors. I wanted to attract great conscious minds and have a space. That's why I built this table. It's like a 12-person like Game of Thrones table, so we can do masterminds.
Yeah.
Like I envision doing masterminds with these geniuses, like a league of extraordinary people. Like I envision that. So you build this because you understand that I want people to come there and have an experience.
Yeah.
Like it's deeper layers. The more you evolve with this stuff, it's deeper layers. And I'm not saying I'm super evolved. Like I do dumb stuff all the time still. However, I do realize there are layers to this game, and you do evolve past your old self for sure.
Yeah. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, and Addicted to Success YouTube channel, we're going to be rolling some video over this of your epic pad. And dude, I had this whole thing of like, got to be humble when I was younger. And I think it's because I got acknowledged so much of being humble. Yeah. And one day I went like, humility? Like, yes, have compassion for others. Yeah. Don't brag your ass off, get the results, right? Yes, very important. At the same time, if you've worked your ass off for something and you've been smart at it, not just hard work, but smart work, and it's brought into your space, share it. Share what's possible with others. And I love that you've done that. You share it shamelessly. Yeah. You encourage the best of the best talent to come out to align themselves with your vision. And, what we talked about a good year ago when you were at my place, it's really about like, if you can clearly articulate your vision to the world, the right people start showing up. And you've done it. And now you're sharing all the things that you've implemented, man. And my tribe are like soaking this in. If you're not right now, get your freaking pad and your pen, write these notes down, rewind it, pause it, replay it, whatever you need to do to really soak this in, because I've seen Gav in action, and he takes notes and he implements, and that's what you need to do too.
Man, thank you so much for everything you've done. And I just want to hit on one last point with that.
Do it,
the
bro.
Articulation.
Drive it home, man. Drive it home.
The articulation. Man, I realize that, just like in the movie The Matrix, if you can articulate somebody's feeling, like almost better than they can, they will unconsciously finally have an awakening that somebody gets them, and move in a direction that they can like completely change their life. And it happened so many times to me on your podcast and other books where someone like, I was feeling this thing, but I needed someone else to articulate it in a certain way to give me that epiphany, awakening moment to realize I was actually on the right path. And I'm hoping in this podcast at some point, one of those things came across to someone, because the reason why I did Limitless, and the reason why I'm going to be writing books and all this stuff throughout my life is I want someone who is in that position to have that same moment.
Yeah.
It's all these moments were the greatest things that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Amen.
I can never have more amount of materials that will be better than the feelings and the that I had during those times. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Like, that's everything that I'm feeling as I'm moving through this journey in life, and you're just like, you're articulating it really well.
I appreciate that, man, because this is a full circle thing right now. It's like 6 years ago I was watching this. And when you sent me that message saying, man, you deserve to be on this podcast, you've been watching me, that meant like the world to me. It really did.
You do, brother.
So it's like a dream come true.
You do, absolutely. So that being said, man, how do we get more of Gavin Dantez? Where are you online? How can we access Limitless?
Yeah, so Gavin Dantez on all social media with a Z, not an S.
Dantez.
So Gavin Dantez and limitlessmasterclass.com. You can get the course. And I would love to give any of your people a discount, so let's just do like Addicted. If you type that in, you'll get a 50% discount on the course.
Let's do it. Hell yeah, man. Big love, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you, man. Awesome. Now, one last question. We wrap every interview up with this, okay? If you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
Man, just don't leave with that feeling inside you that you have, that you need to release, whatever that is. Whether it's something you need to say to somebody, whether that's something you need to like write down so it stays in the world. Don't leave without doing that. because sometimes that's what we need to do right now, and we're waiting till the end of our life. But whatever that is that you would do then, do it now.